Hey, how's it going? This is Travis Neville from the Travis Neville podcast. I got a chance to talk to the father of the tribe, a guy named Matt Halson, really cool guy. He's in Australia. He's Australian, which is cool. Talking to this guy. It was 6:30 in the morning for him, and it was like 3:30 in the afternoon here, and it wasn't even the same day of the week. It's spring here. It's fall over there. Just really cool. I mean, I know that's common geography stuff, but kind of blew my mind. Anyway, great conversation. What he does is he coaches up fathers, helps them to be the best man they can be. And, of course, we talked about why that's so important, why being a good man is such a big deal. And yeah, great conversation. Cool to know the guy. Won't be long here. He'll be posting some pictures of him wearing one of my T-shirts in Australia. Did I mention that? He's Australian. Anyway, really cool conversation. I hope in some way my talk with Matt helps you to get your shit together. Have a great week.
Good morning. Good morning, bro. How you doing?
Good morning. Doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. I'm good. You can hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. My audio's coming through. There's no delay, no nothing like that.
Beautiful. That's perfect. Not uncommon to have issues for some reason. Whenever I try and do Zoom calls with people in the States,
Yeah.
I've always had issues. Like all of a sudden, my microphone won't connect, or it's really laggy. This is the clearest it's been in a very long time.
That's
I'm really
crazy
impressed.
because
I'm happy
I
as.
live in the middle of nowhere, man. I live way in the middle of nowhere, and I go to this used to be a library,
Yeah.
120-year-old building because they've got free Wi-Fi, but it is laser fast. I got really lucky as far as that goes. Like until I get my house built, this is where I'm recording from. What time is it there, man? You're in Australia. What time is it?
6:30 in the morning.
6:30 a.m. Okay, so it's
Yeah.
3:30 p.m. here. I knew there was a 9-hour difference, but I just couldn't. I had it, dude. I had it in my calendar as 9:30 p.m. So 6 hours from now is what I had in my calendar. I'm so glad you texted. This works out way better for me anyway.
Oh,
And
beautiful.
thanks for getting up so early, man.
It's all good, man. I'm an early riser anyway, so I like to get up and get all my work done in the morning, and my workouts and everything, because least impact on the family.
Oh, for sure.
It
It
might
makes
be
sense.
may be a bit crazy now. That being said, because this is the time that the kids also wake up, so the emotions can be a bit wild first thing in the morning. So if you hear the kids carrying on in the background,
Yeah.
they're okay. They're just kids with a lot of energy first thing in the morning.
I'll let that illustrate fatherhood in general, which is a great transition into what you do. Matt, tell me, what exactly are you doing? How did you get into it? Give me the whole story.
So what I'm doing currently is I'm helping fathers be the leader that their family needs. So I predominantly work with hardworking men who, like me, came through the trades, blue collar guys. That being said, I'm always open to working with guys in corporate
Hmm.
buildings as well, because I've spent a fair bit of time working alongside those people, and I see a lot of the things that you know we're not taught to understand. We do a lot of things that are just run of the mill, day to day, and it ends up costing us a lot down the track. So I help those guys bring the traits they've got and bring them into a leadership role at home, so that they can remove a lot of the pain. They can remove a lot of the numbness from their life. They can find some direction and some purpose, and they can find a reason to get their ass out of bed in the morning and show up and be the best father that they can be and the best husband that they can be. But
Mm,
to do that, you can't do either of those two things without being a good man first. So a lot of my
correct.
approach is delved at the self-work. So how can you be a better man for you first? Because if you can't lead yourself, you can't lead anyone else.
That is a
So that's
fact.
a lot of what I do. Um, and the way I got into it, that's a lengthy story, man. The the gist of it is I had a somewhat absent father growing up, particularly in the younger ages. So my dad was injured in a
Hmm.
workplace accident, and he was there for most of those years, but he was not always available, due to being bedridden. He was always, having to take medications and stuff to try and get rid of infections and pain and stuff in his leg.
Sorry to hear about
I
that. That sucks.
Yeah, it does, man. It was a really tough time for the family. My mum stepped up as best she could and really had to take on a lot of extra burdens, dragging all the kids. There was only three of us, my two older sisters and myself. So where one went, we kind of all had to go. And, mum's base interest was in horses, and the girls were interested in horses. So naturally, lots of the things that I ended up going to when I was a kid were horse-related things. But aside from the little rabbit hole there, my dad's incident, it caused a lot of trouble. So mum ultimately had to do two jobs. She was often working, during the day doing something, and then at night my auntie looked after us a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that affected me in a lot of ways, because I kind of had to step up into doing more at a very young age. And that naturally pushed further and further towards I'm going to be an independent person. I need to drive myself to be as independent as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time I got to 13, when dad's, injury and everything was sort of starting to come good, I'd already reached the point where I'd made a decision about what I needed to do. And I remember distinctly asking that question, like, how do I even be a good man?
Right.
What is a good man? How do I know how to be a man? I had no idea. There was no manuals in school. There was no one talking about it in school.
There definitely is not.
Everything's focused on what job are you going to do? How are you going to provide for your family? How are you going to make the money? How are you going to grow your income? How are you going to, next thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was focused on that, but I always had that lingering question of, like, what is a good man? How do I know what a good man is? How do I become that?
So how did you go about looking into it? I mean, what were the paths? I mean, obviously you thought about it and wondered for quite a while, but eventually you found a path, eh?
So if you fast forward through hanging out with the wrong people and emulating the wrong people, and the drug dealers and the drink drivers and all the rest, if you skirt through those, most of my teenage years, I found it when my wife was pregnant with our first daughter. Oh, my fiance, I should say. We're not married. For all intents and purposes, we're married. We've been together for 17 years. Our relationship's very, very strong. It's just marriage has sort of just fallen to the back burner as a thing to get to. We've built houses, we've got the kids and everything. So for all intents and purposes, we're married. So she was pregnant in 2013. And I was just knee deep in work. I was finishing my apprenticeship as an electrician in oil and gas.
I was just going to ask you, what was your trade? Oil and gas. Okay. Electrician.
Yeah. Oil and gas electrician. And in 2014, my daughter was born, and she was born the day my apprenticeship finished. So I was effectively unemployed from the moment she came into this world. And so I had all these challenges to get across. As I'm a man, I'm supposed to be a provider. And here I am. I haven't even, I don't have a job set in stone. I had promises from people that I'd worked with. They're like, hey man, don't stress, enjoy your time off. We'll look after you. But, young, a little bit naive, a little ignorant to the bigger workings of the world. I was fearful that I'm not going to be able to provide for my family. And that fear carried over for the next handful of years. But at that point, I was still working too much. I was doing all the overtime. I was eager to please everyone at work, and I was shirking a lot of my responsibilities at home, thinking that being the provider was all that I had to be. That's all I needed to be. I just needed to provide the income, the house, the food, and that's my job done. That's where I level the field. And it was about, I'd say she might have been around 8 or 9 months old when, I was looking in the mirror one day, and I just despised the person who was looking back. I was like, what example are you setting? Your eating habits aren't that great. You're distant. You're avoiding the family. When you're home, you're not really here. You're checking your work emails at nighttime when, you're sitting down as a family and all these things. And I just didn't respect the man that was looking back. And from there, it was okay, well, I've worked out what a good man has to do, but what does a good man actually need to do? And then I started down that rabbit hole. And that's when I started to find, that's the first time around then was when I first discovered the term masculinity. Before then, no one had ever said it to me. I hadn't heard it before. It was to think of that now in today's climate, with toxic masculinity getting thrown around left, right, and center. I would be surprised if there's many kids that haven't heard the term masculinity by now. But the downside is they're hearing it in a negative sense, not the positive sense.
Correct.
So that was when I found it, and I needed to figure out, okay, how do I take this term masculinity and make it work for me? What is it that's in there that works for me? What's in alignment with what I want from life? And how do
Mm-hmm.
I then create that path? Well, I had no idea because I hadn't seen it done before. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know anyone that embodied the life that I knew was possible. I had
So you hadn't
everyone
seen
sort of
it.
as their
It hadn't been role modeled to you at all. I mean, your dad was laid up. You didn't have any uncles, any coaches, anything like that where you could say, "Hey, I want to be like him."
yeah, pretty much. I mean, the only things I had to go off were the things that my dad did teach me, which he was
Mhm.
able to teach me, which was hard work. He taught me to, commit to things. He taught me that, even when things get hard, we persevere and we
You
continue.
grind.
We don't just give up. We can
Hmm.
we can ride through the hardships of life. He taught me that. He taught me how to chop wood. He taught me how to service my car. He taught me how to, look after a lawnmower and do all these
Yeah, it's
traditionally
good,
masculine
important,
things,
important
right?
stuff. That's good,
Important
man. You weren't
things.
left. Yeah, you weren't left out in the
Yeah,
desert. He taught you some good shit. That's good, man.
he did. Yeah, and we spent a lot of time fishing and stuff. And amongst that, there were things that were missed, of course, because he was bedridden. There were things that I
Hmm.
wanted to learn and wanted to do that was not available to be learned. And
Hmm.
that's why I ended up going down the path of looking to other people. Oh, okay, well, who's got something that I want that looks good to me, and I'll
Right.
I'll step down that path. And that took me down some very very bad rabbit holes, which
Sure.
somehow, I don't know, somehow I didn't become another statistic. I ultimately didn't get booted out of school, no matter, which is quite surprising. I finished relatively well through school. I mean, I always knew education was important. I always knew that having a decent job would pay off better than, not doing schoolwork and not working hard
Hmm.
and not bothering to get a good job. I knew that working hard would give me some good results, but there was nothing to sort of tell me when to pull the handbrake on that and when to
Hmm.
pull it back, when to,
Yeah, something to balance it out with, right? So that's a great thing to be able to
yeah.
do when you're in that zone, but you've got to have a reason to be doing that stuff. You've got to have a thing that you're working towards, working for, and it isn't just checking the box to say, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but having some fulfillment, having some purpose, like you said. So you went. I assume that you're going to tell me that your purpose became your family. I would guess that was it pretty quickly.
My purpose was focused around my family, yeah. So they are a big part of my purpose, and I like to think that I've got more than one purpose, because there's
Good.
big things on both sides, right?
Hmm.
I hear everyone that's like, oh, you've got to have your one purpose. I'm like, man, my family's always going to be my priority. And if they're my
Yeah.
priority, then they have to be a big part of my purpose, but they can't
Yep.
be my only purpose, right?
That's
Because
true. Got to have something that's uniquely you.
that's right. You can't be just the family man. You need to also be a man. And what does that look like? So that was the thing that was just kept calling to me, is like, I need to work out how I be a good man before I can even think to be the best family man. Because
Hmm.
I put up a post last night about the difference between being like a nice guy versus a good man. They're not the
That's
same thing.
excellent information. You're absolutely right. They are very different.
They're very different things. And I knew that being a good man would set the bar higher for my kids growing
Hmm.
up. If I was a good man and I demonstrated good morals, good values, a good work ethic, a good growth mindset, and I was able to meet them where they're at emotionally and be able to
Hmm.
hold space for that, I knew that that sets the bar high when they're older. So then they're going to improve on that, because that's what we always do, right? We always look to our parents as they're the baseline, and then we always
Hmm.
want to be okay. Let's do better. They've given me all these tools. How can I improve on those tools? Not
Yeah. Good
let's
people do it that way.
generalize. Yeah. So I wanted to do that. And that was my driving force. So I guess that's a big reason why my family is a massive part of my purpose, is that the better man I can become, the better it's going to be for them. And that's
Very
the
true.
underpinning tone, right? It's like my kids need to know how a good man shows up, because especially my daughters, my sons need to know it, because they're going to
They're
grow
watching.
up and they're going to watch, man. They're going to
Yeah.
emulate anything that I'm
Yeah.
doing. So my bad habits and my good habits. If they see more bad habits, they're going to pick them up.
Well,
I
at
don't
least
get a
they're going to
choice.
think they're okay.
Yeah,
It's a check of like, all right, dad actually did this, so it can't be too bad. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely right.
yeah. And then my daughters are going to when they get into the dating world when they're older, or they're
Yeah, they're
looking to settle
imprinting.
down, they're going to look to me as like the baseline of what makes a man a good man.
Hmm.
It's like, I want to set that bar high.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
you
want them
should.
to settle down with some douchebag who's going to be, abusive or manipulative or controlling or coercive or any of these things, or just wants to sit back and just let her do everything. I want my girls to grow up and be looked after by another good man. So the
Of
best way I
course.
can show her what a good man is to embody that myself.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I think about the big ideas behind what we both do, and that's I think I know that when you make men great, you change the whole world. You really do. I just was thinking about the cycle here. So say you helped the guy, you coached up another blue collar guy that you're working with, and he got his shit together, and he's the man he wants to be. He's the father he wants to be, and he's raising a son who ends up being the boy that your daughter dates. You know what I mean? Like as we do this stuff, we're impacting invariably things that are going to come back around to us. And yeah, so how do you access those guys? What you're teaching dads, how do they find you? How do you find them? What's your model look like?
So for the most part, it's through Instagram, posting things, calling
Hmm.
guys out a little bit on the things where they're dropping the ball, and
Hmm.
trying to help them first understand that if they're in a place where I was, 5 or 6 years ago, that these are the things that are happening. And here's a big reason as to why. It's not the only reason. There's always more than one reason. But
Hmm.
here's big reasons why. If you're not stepping up as a leader in your family and you're, getting home, you're distracted or you're distant, or you're on your phone, or you're sitting there playing video games all night instead of connecting with your kids or your wife, and your relationship's feeling stale, sure, she may have a part to play in that. Maybe she's distant as well.
Yeah,
But
but
the
you can't
reason
control
she's
that shit. You can only control yourself.
That's right. You can only control what you do. And if she's
Yeah.
distant and you're distant, well, how can you change that? How can you step up and be a leader in that front, right? Leaders are the ones who they serve their people. They serve the people that work with them. They serve the people that are around them. They serve their communities. They serve their families. How can you better serve your wife is the question that most men need to be asking if you want
Absolutely.
a better relationship. And that's not oh, well, she asked me to do anything and I always say yes. It's not, how can you
No.
best serve her? It's not a,
Yeah.
how many more things can you do for her? It's how can you meet her at a place where she needs you to meet her?
And a
Because
lot of
that's what she
times,
desperately.
I agree with you, and I think a lot of times leading your family is doing things that maybe she doesn't say that she wants, but you have enough sense, step back and get to that 30,000 feet and go, all right, long term, this is better for her. She says she doesn't want this right now, but I know this is the right thing. This keeps us
Mm,
together 6 years from now, even though she does, 6 days from now, she might still be mad at me, but 6 years from
mm,
now, we'll still be together. If maybe there's a decision where if she's looking for extreme vulnerability or something, you never know what she says she needs from you. And you know that if I'm too too weak, too vulnerable, and we don't need to go down that rabbit hole of vulnerability and weakness. I do that with Graybeard all the time. Anyway, you know that if you're too weak, she's going to lose a little respect for you, and that might not be the best thing to keep your family cohesive. There are decisions like that happen a lot. Maybe your son gets bullied. You got to teach him how and when to commit to violence. That he's got to be able to keep himself safe. Your wife's not going to understand that, and that makes sense. I mean, there's things about her that you'll never understand. Matt, you don't know what it's like to grow a human being inside you. You'll never know that. So you can't understand that, but she does. And she's never
mhm.
going to understand what it is to be a man and how it is to, how do you have to teach your son some things that you would do with him that you wouldn't do with a daughter. She won't get it. She'll be mad for five,
Mhm.
6 days a week, but 6 years from now, you know what I mean? 6 days versus 6 years, you got to be able to have that
Yeah,
perspective. I think, and a lot of guys struggle with that. It's so easy to give into the short-term stuff. You get in the habit of that. You got to have some vision. You got to be able to, yeah, have some vision. Again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but when you start talking about that stuff, Matt, I get a little fired up. So
yeah,
your
beautiful.
thoughts on that?
Uh, what you pointed out there, vision and values, right? They're
Hmm.
the big things. And if you're clear on what your vision is and where you want your life to be and how you want your kids to be and how you want to show up in that life, when you're having these disagreements with your partner about like, I've got to treat my son this way, I'm going to teach him how to do
Hmm.
these things for these reasons that I know that you may not understand.
Right.
That to me is where a degree of emotional resiliency comes into it, where if I can pause for a moment, check out of the logical side of myself, because men are predominantly logical beings, right? We just
Yep.
understand. We know that, like, my boy learns this. He learns the
Mm-hmm.
respect for this. When he's a teenager, he's not going to go around king hitting people because he knows
Mm-hmm.
the damage he can cause.
Yep.
He's going to want to protect the people around him, right? My wife may not see things that way. Oh, I just don't want him to be violent at all. I don't want to be this. I don't want to be that. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, cool. We're coming at this from an emotional place.
Yeah.
This is where I can hit pause. I can choose to go, all right, I can either try and explain this to her in a very, very logical way, or I can meet her where she's at, and I can drop into the emotional side of it and say,
Yeah.
hey,
So how do you do it? How exactly would you do it? Let's stay with the scenario I laid out. You
yeah.
kids getting bullied. How do you do that? How do you approach that? How do you meet her where she is emotionally? How do you do that?
So to me, you've got to speak to the feelings of it, right? And that's my feelings around it. So, because we're not robots, right? Yes, we
No,
think
we're
very
not.
logically about things, but
Mm-hmm.
we all have emotions tied to different things. And I drop back and say, okay, what was it like for me as a boy getting bullied? What was it like for
Oh,
me
okay.
when people were taking a swing at me? How
How
did
did
I
I
feel?
feel?
Like,
Yep.
how did I feel? I felt emasculated. I felt
Mm-hmm.
weak. I felt like
Mm-hmm.
no one in the world was able to protect me from this. No one. And that makes
Mm-hmm.
you feel terribly alone as a young man.
It sure does.
And I've all of a sudden it's, oh shit, now I can see why it's important to know how to protect yourself. Or, if you're a man and there's other people wailing on your friends and you don't know how to protect yourself or anyone else, you're going to be scared shitless to be even getting in there because you don't know
Mm-hmm.
what to do.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've got a basis in it, you've got a grounding in it, you understand enough to know, no, this is not okay. I need to protect my friends. Then you're building community as well. You're building brotherhood. You're building all
Sure.
these beautiful things that carry through the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So to be able to sit with the emotions yourself, be comfortable with it, takes a lot of leadership in my eyes. That takes the ability to sort of go,
No doubt.
I'm not going to just logically explain it. I'm going to drop back to a time where this was relevant to me, and I'm going to share from that place. And that's
Ah,
where I talk about vulnerability as a man. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. It's like,
that's
go
brilliant,
back,
dude. That's
take
brilliant.
yourself back to a spot, share from a place of raw emotion. And that's
Mm-hmm.
not screaming and crying and
Mm-hmm.
letting everything go wild, but like, feel the emotions, feel how it makes you feel, and go, you know what? It makes me feel fucking so weak and so
Mm-hmm.
out of control and so small as a man or as a
Mm-hmm.
boy when I can't manage these things, when I can't do these things. And it's a powerful practice that when you can do that, it changes the way you can converse with your wife, and it changes the way
Man.
that she can understand the logic behind your patterns. It's like, hey, the way
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing it may not make sense, but this is the why. And with everything, if you, as a leader, if you can explain the why in a way people can understand it, they're always going to engage more with the what.
Yeah, that's for sure. I was always a young man who wanted to know. I still am. I respect the chain of command, no matter what it was, whether it was my teachers or coaches or whatever. I always respected that. But if I had an opportunity, it would help me to know why. It would make it make more
Mm,
sense. I'd be able to remember it better and understand what we were doing. Yeah, I agree with you. The why is it's key.
mm.
Keep
Beautiful.
going, dude. So let's
What was your, yeah.
why don't you tell me about this? I'm super curious. This is more kind of off the reservation, but I'm a gun guy. I've got a nice arsenal of guns. I just think they're really cool. I don't really enjoy shooting that much. I'm not a
Mm-hmm.
big hunter. I went hunting for the first time this year, and it was nice to be outside and all that, but I did not like the killing.
Mm-hmm.
But I like guns, and I like them because I like cars. The same reason they're beautiful. They're really cool. They're well made, engineered, all these things.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a new thing for me, man. I didn't, my dad didn't have guns. His dad didn't have guns. They were both city boys, and I grew up in the country. I live very rurally now, and so I pay attention to these sorts of things. And I'm sure you know what I'm about to get at. It's illegal to own firearms in Australia. Yes or no? How does that work?
No, it's not illegal.
Well,
We
how's
are
that set up?
there's a lot more restrictions on owning firearms here. So you have to have a license to own any firearm. The firearms
Hmm.
all have to be registered. We can't
Same as here.
easily own a handgun here. There's a
Okay.
there's more restrictions on that. So you have to have, I believe, I could be wrong. So don't 100% quote me on this, but I believe if
Okay.
you want to get a handgun license, you have to provide fingerprints to the police
Hmm.
that go onto a record. And to get the gun license is very from all intents and purposes, pretty straightforward. It's just paperwork. It's a bit of a delay. It might take 3 or 4 months to get the paperwork all sorted out.
Mm-hmm.
But then to own a gun, so you can get the license. That's just to get the license. Then to own a gun, you have to be a member of a shooting club, and you have to enter into X amount of competitions a year. So
Okay.
we're not allowed to use them for hunting. You're not allowed to use them for self-defense. If they're not with you
Handguns.
at the
This is
shooting
just
range,
handguns.
this is just
Okay.
handguns.
Okay.
Then they have to live in a safe at your home. They can't
Okay.
be, so we can't, as far as I'm aware, we don't have open carry or concealed carry permits or anything like that here for handguns.
Mm-hmm.
Rifles, on the other hand, are a little bit easier. You just need, justification for use. So if you live on property, there's your justification. You're
Okay.
culling. If
Okay.
you just want to be target shooting, that's your justification. You join a shooting club and you go and do that. If you want to hunt, you can either get a permit to hunt on Crown land, which is government-owned land,
Yeah, we call it
or
state land here.
or if you know someone with property, you can ask them to write you a letter saying, "Hey, this person's this person has permission to shoot here." Then you get the license. Then you can pick a gun. Now, we've got different categories here. So there's category A and B long arms, which are, all your rimfire cartridges, and then that's your A, and then your B's, most centerfire cartridges up to a
Big,
limit.
more powerful guns are the
Yeah.
category B.
They're
Okay.
the deer hunting guns, the hog hunting
Sure.
guns, the buffalo, and all the rest. But we can't get things like a 50 cal, without a special permit. So there are limitations. There are some cartridges that have been banned for varying reasons, and there's magazine limits, on the capacity of a magazine for certain firearms. Again, I couldn't tell you exactly what it is. I think it might be like a 10 round mags, the maximum.
Okay. So it doesn't sound like it's as
like,
restrictive as what I was thinking. I mean, when the whole, you guys had, I think, a lot more trouble with the COVID stuff. Like from what I saw on TV, and it could be very wrong because I really don't trust much I see on TV, but
yeah,
you guys had a lot of rebellion essentially over the COVID stuff, correct?
there was quite a lot of protests. Yeah, but not. Again, it's illegal to carry a firearm in open in public now. I believe it's illegal. So people that go to protests, it's supposed to be more of a peaceful protest,
Of course.
which I guess that has, to a degree, has benefits. It does reduce the likelihood of escalation.
Naturally. Yeah.
And we don't seem to have. I've got to be careful with my wording here, less upsetting people, but police-backed shootings don't seem to be as common here. But that being said, we've got less than a tenth the population of the United States.
Right.
There's something like 26 million people that live in Australia, and there's 300 million plus living in the United States. So
yeah, 331 we have right now.
Yeah. But because I guess that it's illegal to carry firearms for self-defense use, and that's another thing, you can't use a firearm for self-defense, period, here. It's illegal to do so.
No matter
what. If you use it, then odds are you're going to lose your guns.
So somebody's got a knife to your wife's throat, heaven forbid. You can't shoot the guy.
No.
Wow.
No. You could, of course, but
yeah,
it would be classed as illegal. And I don't know, possibly there could be manslaughter, or I doubt it'd be classed as a murder thing, but self-defense, you'd probably find it to be a hard case to fight, because they'd say, no, you're not allowed to use firearms for that. It's like, well, I called the police. What am I going to wait for them? I know what my answer to that is.
Yeah, I know too. Same answer as mine.
As far as that goes, but yeah, it's different that we can't carry them. There's stories of people not that long ago, in the last generation, that used to ride through cities and towns and stuff, on motorbikes going hunting, and they just have their rifle on a sling slung over their shoulder. And now it's like, you've got to have it in a box. It's got to be locked in the car. It's got to be not seeable. And there's a lot of restrictions on just traveling around. I see you guys where in some states there's guys that have just got a gun mounted on the, above their rear window in their truck. And it's like, oh man, I'd love to be able to
Texas.
do that. But yeah,
that's Texas, man.
We can't do that here. And the other thing of note as well on firearms is we don't have easy access to semi-automatic. So all of our firearms are like lever action or bolt action.
No kidding.
Some pump action, but no automatic refeeding of a cartridge. So no semi-autos are legal under a category A and B. That's a category D, I think, which you can get under certain circumstances. I think if you're in, if you own like a security business or something like that, you can. Obviously, military and maybe not so much like the prison industries and stuff. I know they use handguns. I don't know if they use semi-automatics. But if you own enough land and you draw an income from that land, you can get what's called a primary producer allowance to get category D, which includes semi-automatics. But full automatics, no. Rocket
Yeah, we
launchers,
can't. Those are
no.
illegal here
You know,
too. No, no full
yeah,
automatics here.
yeah.
Everybody
Okay.
goes crazy in the U.S. about the AR-15, which it looks like a military,
Yep.
assault weapon, and it is, it certainly is. It's got its
Mm.
purpose, but it's still just semi-automatic. It doesn't shoot any faster than any other handgun. It's still
Yeah.
as fast as you can pull your trigger, but because it looks scary, everybody goes crazy for it. I just was curious about that, man. I don't want
Yeah.
to, if you're not into that stuff, no problem. I just straight up curiosity.
Oh no, I am. If it wasn't
Oh,
obvious,
yeah.
I am.
Okay, good.
I got
Yeah, you do
a
know
few
a lot
firearms.
about it.
Yeah.
I
I
was
like to
impressed.
hunt and yeah.
hmm Yeah, the over here, it sounds like it's certainly more relaxed than what you guys have going on. I have in the state that I live in Michigan, and there's I have a concealed carry permit. But in Michigan, if you don't have a concealed carry permit, it actually is legal to open carry. So you could walk into the grocery store with a gun on your hip. You can go most places as long
Mm.
as there's fewer than 2,500 people. You can walk right in with a gun on your hip. I mean, it scares the crap out of old ladies, so I don't recommend you do it, but you only need a license. You only need a license to hide the thing. You only need a license to
Mm.
to to hide it, which
That's
whatever,
wild.
I get it,
Yeah.
just so I can have one in my car. And I was a volunteer sheriff's deputy for a while. I got access to some really cool training, and I learned what we were talking about earlier, about that responsibility to help people.
Mm.
The sheriff that I worked with, he told me that, he said, "Hey man, you know all this stuff now. You can't just let it slide. You got to stay up on your shooting, and because it's your job. I didn't train you just to keep yourself safe. I trained you so that you can help keep other people safe around you. That's the whole idea."
Yeah.
Which I thought was a neat concept. Again, going into that, I didn't really get it, but it sounds like, yeah, it wasn't too bad. How restrictive were your COVID things? How restrictive did things get for you guys?
Very. We were full lockdown for months. I can't even recall how long it was, but it was way too long. There
Full
was people
lockdown,
that
define that. What was
so
full
full
lockdown?
lockdown for us was there was effectively a curfew. There were distances around your house that you're allowed to travel for private use, which I think was maybe 15 or 20 kilometers, which is
It's
not
nothing.
far. It's like
Yeah.
it's a 15-20 minute drive.
Yeah.
Um, for shopping purposes and stuff. Most retail stores were closed.
Mhm.
You had for a little while there, you had to have a permit to go to work. And if you got pulled over by the police, you were expected to provide this permit to demonstrate that you had, just reasons to be traveling during the
Man,
pandemic.
police
We
state,
had,
dude.
oh man, it was, people coming off of planes and stuff were forced into quarantine for 2 weeks.
Wow.
You know, in complete isolation, and it was just the leadership here really dropped the ball.
hmm
They outsourced the reason it copped, because I'm in Victoria, right? We I think in the end copped it the hardest out of every state in Australia, and that's because it started here. Our leadership led in a cruise ship, I believe, if my memory's serving me correctly, that had some sick people on it, and they put him up in a hotel quarantine.
hmm
That was like really just pulled together rapidly.
hmm
And they hired a security contractor to maintain it, and there was a whole bunch of adultery going on inside the hotel between the security staff and the people that were in quarantine. And then all of a sudden, we've got pandemic spreading across the state.
hmm
So the leadership team had a lot to answer for that. And the downside to that, again, poor leadership, not accepting responsibility. There was
Right.
oh yes, this is my fault, but, and then went on to blame the security
Somebody
contractors
else.
and everything else. Like, mate,
hmm
the buck stops with you. If you're
Yep.
running the show, the buck stops with you. You can't sit up there and start pointing fingers. Like, everyone knows the security contractor made a mistake as well,
hmm
but you made the bigger mistake because you were the one that failed to oversee things correctly, or to fail to have certain protocols in place to make sure that things like that wouldn't happen. The countries have got processes to handle, that where they have teams that get together and they sit down and they discuss potential threats to the economy. They cover things like what happens if we have another a crisis like COVID, or
Right.
what happens if we go to war? What happens if a country invades? Like, they've got
Hmm.
these crisis people that sit down and they discuss these things. So I'm like, how did we get something so fundamentally simple so terribly wrong?
Hmm.
And it just begs
Yeah.
that question of, I think he was ultimately just making decisions that he felt were correct, but may not have necessarily made the most logical sense. He didn't want to turn the people away because they had sick people. We want to care for sick people and stuff. It's like, well, I get that. But you could have definitely done things in different ways.
So,
You had the choices, and
yeah. Have you guys rolled over that leadership yet, or you still got the same guy?
so he was around for a while. I believe now he's been replaced. I couldn't tell you who the new person is, or he may have even got back in. I honestly couldn't tell you. I don't tend to follow the politics here too much because
Hmm.
I don't know if it's the same over there, but our politicians are much the same from what I gather, from what I see. The two main parties, we've got Labor and Liberal. They talk similar things, but really all they do is attack each other and say, "Don't vote for them because they're going to do this."
Right.
I don't want to hear what they're going to do. I want you to tell me
Yeah.
what you're going to do, and
And
then
then
I can make
actually
a
do it.
decision
How about
based off
that?
that. And that's the thing you don't see. They don't
Mhm.
follow through with most of it. So I kind of just take a disinterest in once I came to the conclusion that it doesn't matter who sits there. Fundamentally,
Mhm.
it's not going to make a difference. So when I vote for what's in my best interest and my family's best interest. As far as, if I vote for one, and this is where it gets tricky for me, because if I vote for one party, it's better for my job. If I vote for the other party, it's better for my work, for my family life. So
Mhm.
ultimately, I try and balance that, but 9 times out of 10, my family life is going to trump, because I can always get a new job. I can always go and earn
Right.
money a different way. I can be flexible and be resilient. But if I can't do the things that I love to do with my family because we voted in, a terrible leadership team, then what am I going to do then? Life's going to
Right.
suck, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I don't have the family or the job. I work for myself. And so I vote based on character. I know that they're not going to do what they say they're going to do. I know most of the time the platform they're standing on is just a group of people that, are paying to get this person in for whatever reason. And once they get there, it's kind of a crapshoot. So I always think about it like, who do I believe in? Who do I believe that if the shit hit the fan, they would make the right choices and we'd be okay. They'd stay level-headed. Like, for example, over here we've got Democrats and Republicans, and the Democrats are the liberals, Republicans are a little more, let's call it, the Democrats are more female, and Republicans are more male as far as thought, right? Republicans, logic, Democrats, more feelings. And so generally, I go the route of the Republican. But like Tulsi Gabbard is a woman who's over here. She's a Hawaiian, and she had been a Democrat her whole life. And while she was a Democrat, every time I'd hear her talk, I would think she's extremely high character. Like I would
Mm,
follow this woman wherever she went, as far as like making decisions and level-headed, and I think she'd be a tremendous leader. And so I was always for her, if she was ever going to run for anything. And thankfully, recently she actually just bailed out of the Democratic Party, said she couldn't take it anymore, which makes sense probably because she's so
mm,
logical. It didn't work. But yeah, that's how I do it. It's just with character. But yeah, like you said, I just don't think most of them just don't follow through. I think people who want to be leaders shouldn't be. If it's a thing that you're seeking out, if you're trying to, this is just in general. If you've been a politician for quite a long time, yeah, I wonder what are you really trying to change the world, or are you just trying to build yourself up? Is it an ego thing? Is it like I think about George Washington, who was our first president here in the U.S. I'm sure you've heard of him.
mhm,
Never wanted to be a leader at all. He wanted to run his farm. He was a great man, and people who knew him believed in him, and came to him and asked him, "Hey, we need you to help us in the military." And he did it. And then they asked him to do it again, and then they asked him to be president. And in all three cases, he's
mm,
like, "Okay, if you guys insist, if you think it's the right move, I'll do it." But he never sought leadership. He never tried to become a leader, and that's just not a thing we really see anymore. I mean, I think that's
mm.
a mark of excellent leadership when you do see somebody who it wasn't their idea. I'm still waiting. In my lifetime, I
Yeah.
haven't really seen that. You know what I mean? I wonder your thoughts
Yeah.
about that, about seeking power versus having it presented to you.
Yeah. So on that, seeking power, I don't agree with. That's very egotistically driven. It's people that just want to, so they can say, oh, I've got this status, I'm this powerful, I
Hmm.
look like this. Um, and I definitely see a lot of that in workforces, around. It's the guys
Definitely
who like,
in
I've got to
offices.
be the hardest worker, I've got to be the
Hmm.
loudest spoken, I've got to be making the most money and doing the most overtime. A lot of that tends to be driven from either ego or from the nice guy. The
Yeah. Yeah.
inability to say no,
Hmm.
and not wanting to let other people down and not wanting to be seen as not good enough.
A dysfunctional level of desire for validation.
Yeah, correct. Whereas people that are drawn naturally to leadership, they do tend to, excuse me,
Of course.
they do tend to fall into it a little bit better because they're not searching for a desired outcome. As far as
Yeah.
that, they haven't already made up their mind on what they want. People that sort of try and force their way into a leadership position, they've already seen what it is they think they can achieve, and that's their pinnacle, that's their point. Whereas
Hmm.
people that get brought into it, they straight away come from it of a basis of, okay, well, you've all asked me here, what do you want?
Hmm.
And that's
Yeah.
effectively the key question for leadership, right? It's like, what do you want? How can I help you? How can I best help you and serve you?
What does this system need from me? What's the direction we need to
Yeah.
go in? Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't matter, you're not trying to do anything and everything to get to said outcome. You're going to just do what's necessary to get the people that outcome that they need.
Hmm.
So, you'll have the harder conversations. You'll risk upsetting more people than if you're trying to get to the climb all the rungs in a corporate ladder, you're not going to want to upset anyone.
No.
If you're like, I want to be the CEO, it's like you're going to try
Yeah.
and creep up those rungs without upsetting a single person because the person above you is going to limit your ability to step up that next rung. Whereas
Hmm.
if you're a leader who just wants to serve people at the bottom, you don't give a shit about the rungs.
That's
So if
right.
you upset that guy, okay, no worries. But by upsetting him, guess what? You may earn the respect of the guys above him
Yeah.
by doing something that other people aren't prepared to
That's
do.
right.
They're
Yeah.
going to see that leadership quality and go, oh man, he's going to do what's best for the people. And that's what we need.
Yeah.
That's what
If
we
you're
need
if
more of.
you've never pissed anybody off, you're a shitty leader. If you're trying to be
Yeah.
politically correct and make everybody happy, you're probably pretty bad at your job. You know what I
Mm.
mean? I see that all the time. I used to be a high school teacher and I'd watch that happen with administrators all the time, principals and vice principals. I don't know if you guys call them that there, but be the person who runs a school. You have your
Yeah.
teachers and then their boss is the principal, is what we call them. Well,
Yep.
how's
Yeah.
that
We got,
structured over
yeah.
there?
Yeah. It's principles
Same?
here too. Yep.
Okay.
Same,
Yeah.
same.
I'd watch them, the ones who didn't mind ruffling feathers and would make changes and do things that were a little more provocative because it was the right thing, not just for the sake of provocativity, but having a vision. Those are the guys that were successful and the ones that sat back and just tried not to piss anybody off. They were always really ineffective. I think it's that
Mm.
way in any kind of leadership.
And I think the other point to note there is the control. A leader doesn't seek control, whereas
Mm-mm.
a man who wants to be in charge or wants to be the leader, he's seeking the control. And I've found in high school, a lot of the male teachers I had
Mm.
sought the control, and that's why I clashed with a lot of them because they
Oh,
wanted me to sit down, they wanted me to shut up, they wanted me to just do the things the way they wanted me to do them, whereas that's not what I wanted. So I
mm,
naturally challenged that. But whenever I was dragged in front of one of the principals at either of the two campuses that I went to, which is, we had a junior campus, then a higher level
mm.
campus. At both of those campuses, whenever I got into trouble, the first thing that both of those principals asked me, what happened?
Good. It's a good
Why?
leader. Good
What
question.
happened with you? Why did you do this? Like, what was going on with you? What is going on with you that's caused you to behave like this? And they tried to
Hmm.
understand first. Whereas a lot of the teachers that I had didn't care about that. And that may be just because they're managing so many kids. They don't
Yeah.
have the capacity to do that with everyone. Okay. But whenever I got dragged in front of one of those two principals, that's how those conversations started. And always I was able to go, yeah, you know what? There is some shit going on. This is why I'm doing this. I don't respect
Mhm.
this. I don't respect that. And they always had that capacity to be just pointing me back in the right direction of, if you're going to continue to do this, you know that you're not going to be welcome at this school. and then you're not going to get the education, and then you're not going to be able to go and get a decent job. And they were able to touch me at the area where I needed to be hurt, like where I needed it to be said.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They didn't sit there and talk too emotionally with me. They're like, if you want to find any remote degree of success, you're a smart kid. You need to work this out. And you're at the moment you're letting your emotions take over, and
Mm-hmm.
this is what it's going to cost you. And it's like, oh shit, yeah, okay,
Yeah, that makes
see
sense.
that.
Principals used to be, I'm dating myself, but when I'm in elementary school in the early 80s, and I can remember sitting down in front of the principal who, might as well have been a god at the time, the physically huge and booming voice and leading groups, and it's principal, he's a big deal. And having him light me up, because I finally hauled off and took a swing at my bully, right? Just light
Yeah.
me up, read me the riot act, and then, I'm crying, I'm a little kid, I'm 9 years old, and then him walking around his desk, putting his hand on my knee and saying, "Proud of you, Travis. I'm proud of you for
Mm,
standing up for yourself. I still got to do what I got to do. We're going to suspend you. We're going to do this and that, whatever." So I left with some with some life skills. I left with some perspective and a little bit of sense of peace, an idea that, hey, yeah, you got to take your medicine right now, but it's going to be
yeah.
okay. When that happens now, you don't leave with life skills. You leave with a diagnosis and maybe a prescription. Because
Mm,
no way it could have been your fault. You must have some sort of a ADHD or some problem, or you need Ritalin, or you need this. You need, like, nobody wants to just say, yeah, you did it. You shouldn't have done it. It was your fault. Learn from it.
yeah.
Move forward. Nobody wants to admit that things are their own fault, and that's accountability, which I added as a
Mm,
chapter in my book. I find that's hugely important. As you said very early in the conversation, owning your mistakes is it's just huge. You got to
yeah.
teach that from a young age. How are you teaching that with your kids? How do you teach them to own their shit?
By doing it myself.
Ooh, good one.
So, rather than telling them what to do, I
Mhm.
have to show them. Kids, like we've already discussed, kids emulate what we do.
Mhm.
They learn best from seeing what we do and how we show up in the world.
Mhm.
It's the do as I say and not as I do is wildly outdated.
Doesn't
Like
work.
I don't believe in that at
Yeah.
all. It's do as I do and also as I say, because
Mhm.
there's times where I'm going to ask things of you that you won't understand, but I just
Mhm.
need you to trust that in the future you will understand and you will
Mhm.
see why I'm asking you to do these things. But predominantly, if I make a mistake, if I yell, which I'm a man, I'm still gonna be tired sometimes. I'm still gonna be short tempered. It's going to happen.
Mhm.
The biggest thing for me is to be accountable to that, and I won't let my kids go to sleep with me having yelled at them without me taking ownership of that and being accountable to my own actions and saying, hey, look, no matter what you do, I shouldn't have responded like that. That's on me.
Mhm.
This is why, this is why I reacted the way that I reacted, and that's all on me, and that's for me to sort out. You just need to know that it's not from anything that you've done. So don't feel like I don't love you. Don't think that that it's all your fault. Don't think that I don't want to be near you or anything like that, because none of this is
Right.
on you. This is all on me. So I take ownership of all of that, and then that's going to teach them that um, to accept one's mistakes is a good thing. Now, I do need to note that there's a precursor to that I'll also explain their part in it, because it's important that they understand that their words have consequences as well. The things that they say, the things that they do are also going to impact people in their world, and it will
Mhm.
make people do things sometimes. So it's not to say, hey, you've got no accountability at all. This is
Yeah.
purely on me. It's like, no, the way I reacted was purely on me. The
Mhm.
reason we were having a disagreement in the first place was equally your part.
Right.
So there's that, like, it needs to be both. It can't just be me saying, oh, if I blow up at you, it's all on me, because they're going to walk around thinking when they're older, I can say what I want. And if you respond badly, that's purely your fault. It's like, well, I don't want my kids to grow up and be assholes either.
Nobody ever wanted to raise an asshole, that's for sure.
No.
I would assume. I didn't, like I said, I haven't been able to do that yet. Maybe one day we'll see. I realize the clock is ticking. I'm trying to make my life interesting and exciting, and do build a legacy of work and helping people if I don't have the legacy of children. That's my best idea. So, so you get to be an adult, man. You kids come around, and you're working on your relationship, of course, at all times. You're working on your career. You're working on being a better dad. At some point, you started reading. I see some books in the background there. What are
Mm-hmm.
some resources that have been particularly helpful or meaningful to you over the years?
Oh man, the first. So if I go by sort of an order that I found them, Jack Donovan's work was instrumental for me. So like really discovering the masculine side, and just being told, hey, it's okay to be a man. It's okay
Mhm.
to be a masculine man, and here's some ways you can do that. Um, the strength, courage, mastery, and honor resonated a lot with me. But I also knew there was a little more to the picture. So I learned as much as I could from Jack. And, I always fundamentally knew that being strong and working out and keeping fit and healthy and,
Mhm.
being a man who of integrity or honor was always a good thing. So I think that's why his message resonated with me a lot. So I've read, I think, all of his books, apart from maybe one, which was one of his really early writings.
Mhm.
But yeah, that started with The Way of Men, and if,
Right.
if you're a man that's listening to this and you've not read that book, just read it.
Yeah, you need to.
And, it's an important step in accepting that masculinity is good. And there's a lot of history behind masculinity. And
Mhm.
for us to say that there's not is to just deny history. We can't just be deniers of history, right? And as much as people want to cancel that certain things happened and pretend like they didn't happen and that all
Yeah.
these bad things did, like they all happened,
Mhm.
we don't have to get bogged down in the fact that they happened. They happened, and we're here because of all those things that have happened. And like
Yeah, the
you
thing
said
to
in your
do
book,
isn't to,
we're
yeah, just fucking feel terrible about it. The thing to do is to not do it moving forward. That's how you prove that you get
yeah,
it. I mean, that's how we make the world better.
yeah. So yeah, Jack's work was pretty instrumental at the start.
Mhm.
And I dove into a lot of that masculine stuff for masculinity based stuff for a very long time. But what I found was that trying to control my emotions was really difficult, and trying to meet my wife in conversations in ways that were better and healthier was hard, because I'd taken this whole concept of like, these are the things that a man does and that's it.
Yeah, you
And
can't. You're not going to get what you just said. You're not getting that from Jack. You're gonna have to
no,
go
so
find that on your own. Yep.
that's right. So I started to just think more along those lines and look into that. It's like, well, where's the balance here? There's got to be more. I see a bunch of guys that are, super masculine,
Hmm.
that no emotions at all ever, period, full
Hmm.
stoicism
Totally
style, which
stoic.
I
Yeah.
know stoicism's not, the absence of emotion. It's the absence of really sharing a lot of the emotions
It's
from my
understanding
very
when
limited
to share and when
understanding.
not to. Hey, yeah.
Right. So I got a lot of those concepts, but I was like, but how do I reach a place where I'm not robotic? Because I am a living, breathing
Yeah.
human. I'm an
Hmm.
organism that has these things, right? And I can work my body. I can go and master skills. I can be honorable. I can serve my community. I can do all these traditional masculine things. But
Hmm.
am I limiting my experience as a man by ignoring, suppressing, or trying to pretend like I don't have emotions at all? It's like, well, yeah, I am, because it's a
Hmm.
part of my life. And if it's happening in the dark, then they're controlling me, not the other way around. So I
Absolutely.
needed to work out how to get access to them. And that was when I come across probably the second most influential book for me was Man Uncivilized by Traver Bowen.
Yeah, I
And
think I got to talk to him. I keep hearing a lot of stuff about him. I'm not familiar terribly with his work. Keep going.
yeah, so I found his work, and he was able to hit that the two sides of it. He's like, here's the modern, modern masculine man looks like this. And then
Hmm.
he says, and then on the other side of that's the nice guy. And this is what the nice guy looks like. He's, a bit more effeminate. He may be feeling into his emotions too much. He swung too far the other side. He's
Hmm.
always putting everyone first. And I was like, yeah, I can see that. I can see both sides of that. And I can
Yep.
definitely see areas in my life where I'm doing one or the other. But
Hmm.
how do I not do both? And where do I find the balance for me? And that's when, from working through his work, from joining his men's group, from like just pushing myself into those places of discomfort. Because for a lot of men, like if you mention the word emotions, how you feeling or anything like that, we instantly go, oh, fuck no. Well,
Yeah.
no, I chose to lean into that instead, and
Yeah. It needs
sort
to
of
be
go,
managed.
well, there's challenge there. And if there's
Hmm.
resistance, then there's growth. So I went, no, fuck it. I'm just going to sign up. I've got nothing to lose by signing up for a month. And just, if I'm going to do it, I have to go all in, and I have to be prepared to do what is required. Just see if this is going to work. And I did it for a month. And then from there, I discovered, holy shit, there's a place here in my life where I can share this stuff that I'm not saying to anyone else. And I'm
Hmm.
being met with support instead of people trying to tear me down or trying to laugh at me or, tell me that, oh, just man up, you'll be fine. Like
Yeah.
people that were genuinely supportive are like, oh, hey man, yeah, I feel the same. I've had this happen, and here's some things that I did that helped. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, holy shit. I actually felt like there was a brotherhood of people holding me up. I went, oh
Mm,
fuck, okay, cool. What's next? How do I now navigate this new environment? And ultimately for me, it ended up in therapy because I had a lot of fucking blocks from my childhood, a lot of
sure.
undealt with emotions that were controlling me. I was a very explosive person. I was
Hmm.
either okay or I was angry for the most part. That was my experience for most of my all of my teenage years into my, mid-20s, mid to late 20s, was I was either okay or I was angry. And that was destroying me, and it was destroying my family because I only ever got to see a dad who's like half there,
Hmm.
or a dad who was fully there, but he was angry and he was yelling. And I was like,
Right.
that's not how I want to show up in this world. That's not how I want
No.
to be here for my wife and kids. Like that's a
Yeah,
recipe
I can
for a
do
family
better.
falling to pieces.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, the only thing that needs to change is how I control this explosiveness. And from that, it was, holy shit, there's a whole world of emotions here that I'm not attuned to, that I don't understand are
Yeah.
there, that I'm misinterpreting. And the only answer I've got to any emotion is
Is
aggression.
anger. Yeah, yeah, it's real common for men. I did a show on the masks of anger. It's super common where I've got a great graphic for it, but anger is like the only socially acceptable negative emotion for a man. So whether you're disappointed or you're hurt or you're worried or you're anxious or any of these other negative emotions, the only way that we feel like we can, and this is so common that we can just let that out to, display it, is just it always comes out as anger. It's the only thing that we know of that's acceptable as a man, and that's a thing that got to work on. We've got to fix that. All emotions are acceptable. Manage them, deal with them, make sure that you got them
Mm,
reasonably controlled. But yeah, you've got to learn how to feel those things. Keep
yeah.
going, man. I'm cutting you off. I'm just these are the things that are
No,
popping
it's
in
all
my head.
good. So yeah, I started therapy, which was probably the hardest thing I've ever done. Was just
Mm,
taking that moment to go, oh shit, like no, I need help with this. I'm so far out of my depth in handling emotions because I've cut them off for my entire life that I don't know how to navigate these things. I don't even know
mm,
what any other emotions are or what they feel like. It was just always just one big feeling, just one big feeling. And it was
mm.
like, oh shit, how do I get rid of this? Start screaming or
Yeah, sure.
going to hit in the heavy bag or something. It was my
Hmm.
only outlet. But, not every emotion can be healed by meeting with aggression or by meeting with a primal outlet, like a screaming or hitting a
Sure.
bag or deadlifting and stuff. There's some emotions that you just can't work. You can't work through that way.
Yeah, you could.
Fear and
It helps
things
take
like
the
that.
edge off.
Absolutely.
But fear
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, that's the thing you've
yeah,
got to be able to work on.
yeah. So stepping up into, um, how do I feel more into to love? I
Mm,
want my kids to know that I love them, not just from me
yeah.
saying it. I want them to be able to feel the love coming from me because that's super important. Because if they can't feel love just by me being present with them, then when they
Then
get
you got a
older,
block. Yeah, and you
they're
have a
gonna they're
block in
gonna
you
go look.
somewhere.
Yeah, exactly, and they're gonna go looking somewhere else for that. And I don't
Yeah,
want that. I want my kids to know that if they ever come home, they're going to be
mhm,
met with love first, before judgment, before criticism, before anything else. Like
yeah,
this is the place in their world they can always come to and feel safe and secure and loved. Period.
that's great shit. Yeah, and love, it's the best emotion, man. It is. It's one. If you can't feel that all the way, how sad is that, right? How
Mm,
what experience of life you're missing. One of the great things of being a human is the ability to fall in love, right? And if you can't, yeah,
absolutely.
if you're struggling with that, you owe it to yourself to be able to figure out how to experience it better, which is, of course, is going to help you then to show it better. That's I would tell you the best part about love is how it looks on someone else when they know you love them. And it's just
Yeah, absolutely.
it's a great feeling. And yeah, so how anything like unusual or that you remember or any key tools that you got through the therapy process that helped you with that?
The biggest thing that I found for me through doing therapy was just how fucking insane my inner critic was.
That
And
inner voice, man, that's such a bitch,
working
hey?
through that, yeah, working through that process of it's there and we've
Hmm.
all got it. And most of us just use it as a driving force for getting more done, more to-do list to improve and stuff, which
Yeah.
cool. I get it. I was there too. It
Hmm.
got me a long way, but it only gets you to a point and then it starts to limit you because it
Yeah, I
keeps
agree.
telling you that, you get to a point where there's little left to do. You reach the top rung at your job and you're the hardest worker and you're making the most
Hmm.
money. Well, where to next?
Yeah.
There's no
Right.
more, there's no
How about
more
enjoying
places
it?
to step. So it
Yeah.
starts beating the shit out of you for then not knowing where else to go. And then it starts beating the
Yeah.
shit out of you for how you're not showing up at home and all these things. And that it just slowly tears you down. It slowly empties you and leaves you just this numb, hollow person and it's just always there. It's like, oh, you've got a good idea. Nah, it's shit. Shut your
Mm,
mouth. Don't even fucking
yeah.
worry about it. You're not going to follow through on it anyway.
So did
And
you
it's
figure
very,
out who
very
it was?
limiting.
I think
The
that as a
voice,
parent,
yeah,
it's your job it's your parent to create that voice in your kid. My guess is your voice is
yeah.
probably one of your parents.
No, that's what I thought. Right.
Hmm.
So that's what I would have thought, that it was my parents. But because I'd been driven to independence at such a young age, that voice was my own.
No kidding.
So I was
Mm,
kicking the shit out of myself for failing to meet these completely arbitrary things, like for not being
hmm.
able to achieve these things that I don't even know where the fuck they came from. But
Hmm.
it was telling me that you have to meet these things because, and it was a forever moving goalposts, right? Like I bought my own house. I saved the complete deposit, me and my wife, when we had our first child.
Hmm.
I was working a lot of hours. We then sold that house and we bought the house that we want to live in forever. We've achieved so much, and
Hmm.
yet this voice was still kicking the shit out of me, saying, "You haven't done enough. You're not enough. You're not achieving enough." And it's like, well, where the fuck am I supposed to end up? And I
Right.
couldn't figure that out because it was never going to stop. It didn't matter what I achieved; it was never going to stop. So the answer was to go and cut it off and say, "Nah, fuck you. You don't get to talk to me like that. I'm in control here, not you." And that was a big part of the process for me, was like silencing that inner critic or not giving it a platform to even have a say. It's like, you
And
don't
then
get
of
a decision.
course, immediately once you cut that voice off, you became unbelievably lazy. You couldn't work hard. Everything you did was wrong. Like you fell
Yeah,
apart completely without that angry voice there telling you what to do and what not to do, right, Matt? Of course, I'm being sarcastic,
man.
but once that voice is gone, tell me about that world.
Once that voice was gone, it honestly, it opened up so much more opportunity to just lean into the things that I've always wanted to lean into, to
Hmm.
lean more into helping people. There's no chance with the inner critic telling me that I'm not worth shit. There's no way I would have ever thought I'd be able to sit on podcasts like this and talk to men like you, or about fatherhood and masculinity, or, start a side business coaching and helping other men to do these things, to step them up and help them be better men, because my inner voice would have been sitting there the whole time saying, "Nah, man, you ain't shit. You're full of it. You're lying to
You don't know
yourself
what
and
you're
you're lying
talking
to
about.
everyone else. You're a
Yeah,
hypocrite."
you're not good enough.
And yeah, it's like with that in the back of my mind, I never would have started to build anything, because I would have been so shit scared that I just wouldn't have done it, and that voice would have been right again. So what's the answer to that? Just don't even do it. Don't even bother to try.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a pandemic, but that is something that's just so prevalent through family men across the world.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
they
When you finally get somebody talking about themselves, I noticed this with just my close friends. Get a couple drinks in them, and that's what they'll start talking about. Is man, I admire what you're doing, Travis, but I could never do that. Oh well, why not? And then
mm,
they start, and now you start to hear that voice come out in them, and it's always the same thing. I've dealt with that. I still deal with it every day.
yeah,
But Matt, that's a thing that I have to manage. I know that I've got that voice in there. It's not terribly negative, but it definitely, if I have to take a whole day, because say like I'm building a house right now, if it snows and the ground's completely covered with snow, and I know that if I go over there and do any work, it's going to go at like 10% of the speed that it normally would work in, and I'd be slipping around and be uncomfortable, and I might get injured. And if I take a day like that and don't go to work, there's still that voice trying to crack in the back going, "You're being lazy. You're being late. You need to go over there and work." And I have to shut it
yeah,
down. Like I have to manage it. I have to shut it down. When I first started dealing with trying to delete the negative voice that's in there, that was what I was concerned about, is on the other side of this, without that negative voice, I'll fall
mm,
apart. I will become the laziest turd in the world, and I won't be
yeah,
nearly as productive, and I won't.
yeah,
Well, you got to be able to get to that point, say all the things I just said, and then say back to that voice, say, So what? So
Yeah.
maybe you won't be as productive as you were. Who cares? I'll tell you this, Matt, that the only regret I've ever had in my life, I don't even regret getting married. And that was a difficult situation for me. We don't need to go into it, but I've had made big mistakes, man. I've gone to jail. I've had a lot of things that have gone poorly, but the only thing I've ever regretted, if I could change anything about my past, it would be not to fucking worry so much. It stopped me from enjoying so many things in my life that I should have been enjoying more. That's my only
Yeah.
regret. Only regret.
Yeah.
And where does that come from? That comes from that voice in there saying I should be doing more. Hey. So yeah, that's what happens when
Mm.
you get rid of that. You lose regrets. You lose yeah, I mean, again, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but that's where it comes out for me. And I've heard so many men say the same thing. Well, it's good to have that voice in there. It keeps me up, got me through college, and all the things that you hear, all these rationalizations. But really, it's that relationship between you and that negative voice. It's almost like between you and a captor of some sort, like a bad
Yeah.
guy who, you know what I mean? Like what do they call it? The Helsinki syndrome or what the heck it is, where you bond with your captor, with the bad guy.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
get you get
I'm with you.
like
I can't remember the name.
it's, yeah, it's like codependency almost between you and that
Yeah.
negative voice. You got to break that shit.
Yeah. So another point, I think, I guess, another thing to note on that is it got you through college. It got
Hmm.
you through a new career. It got you through whatever other things it's gotten you through when you were
Hmm.
younger, right? And so this is to aim at guys, again, around my age, around
Sure.
their 30s or even their 40s. They've started a family, they've done the to-do list, right?
Hmm.
Everyone in life, we get this blueprint just given to us.
Yeah.
It's like study hard, get a good
Go to school,
job,
get a job, get
go
married,
to
yeah, have
school,
kids.
yeah, get married, have a family, buy a house, done.
Yeah. It's American
Cool.
dream, except in Australia.
That and that inner voice will get you to that
Oh,
place
it will
because
get you
it's
through
got a
there for sure.
goal,
Yeah.
because
Hmm.
because you've got a goal. But
Hmm.
once you reach that point, you've reached the goal, and that inner voice is still there, and now it's just going to continue to beat the shit out of you.
Hmm.
It's like what's the saying? Flogging a dead horse.
Yeah.
You're just beating
Kicking a
it
dead horse. Yeah.
when it's gotten there, it can't move anymore, and it's just going to sit there and just keep beating it and beating it and beating it, and it's just getting
Yeah.
messier and messier and messier. That's what we do to
Hmm.
ourselves because we lose track of any future goals. And some guys will then start to renovate or they'll start to find some other thing to do, but ultimately it's not a goal that they have that much value in. It's just another box to check. It's like, okay, you
Yeah.
get to that point, cool. What's your goals from now on? You've got to have a vision. You've got to have that next step, or that voice is going to tear you to pieces
Hmm.
because there's no chance you're going to ever silence it forever. You can't.
Hmm. Yeah.
You can
You got to deal
silence
with
it
it
for
every
a
day.
while. You can change it. You can tell it to
Hmm.
fuck off as often as you need to, but
Hmm.
it's always going to come back. And it's always going to be whenever something shifts, something changes in your life, it's going to come back and it's going to sound different. And you won't even realize it's back until it's
Yeah.
been beating the shit out of you again. So
Yep.
it's goal oriented. It'll help you get to where you need to be by reminding you of, like, if you're trying to get a university degree or a college degree for you guys, you need to, oh mate, you're being lazy. You've got to study for that exam
Hmm.
because that not doing that exam is going to cost you this towards getting your goal. So, oh shit, cool, good reminder. I need to go and fucking study.
Yeah.
But once you've got none of those goals and you're sitting there going, hey, you're getting fat.
Yeah.
You're just being lazy. You just yelled at your kids. You're shit.
Yeah.
You're a terrible father.
Hmm.
Where's the goal? If
Right.
you don't know what the goal is and you don't have something you're actively working towards, it's
Hmm.
just gonna beat the shit out of you forever. So to me, it's
Yeah.
that goal oriented, and men need a mission. We need to have a purpose. We
Oh,
need to
no
have a
doubt.
reason for existing, and something to go at. The thing that lights you up the most is the thing that I push every man to be doing. It's like, if you can find one thing in your life that you will do forever for free,
Yeah.
that's what you should be trying to do. That's what your
Yeah.
that's what your mission should be. There's something in that you need to be doing because there's a passion there, and that passion is the thing that's going to get you out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's going to
Yeah.
have you
For
more
sure.
present with your family and managing your time better and doing all these things. Because if you don't get out of bed early and you don't manage your time, then you're going to sleep in. You're wasting your time with your family. Then guess what? You're going to beat the shit out of yourself for that too.
For sure. For sure. Well, hey, Matt, I've taken over an hour of your time. Man, I sure appreciate you making some time for me. You and I have been texting and shooting the shit and getting to know each other. And I've been proud to call you part of my circle at this point. I'm looking forward to watching you grow, watching things change and watching things get better. I'll be supporting you, of course, and need anything, let me know. Also, did the package I sent get there yet?
No, it hasn't got here yet. So
What
I
day
don't
did
know
I
if you got
send?
a
Did I tell
tracking
you I
number or
sent it
anything.
on? Did I send it on Friday or I can't remember which day I sent it. I'm just curious how long it takes shit to
Yeah.
get to Australia from northern Michigan.
I would expect it to be a couple of weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
I'll let you know once
Okay.
it gets here anyway.
Yeah, shoot me a text. I'm just curious
Yeah,
how that goes. But I sent you a t-shirt, copy of the book, some stickers, stuff like that. And hopefully you'll
yeah,
enjoy that. What's the next
I
step
will.
for you, man? What are you gonna get into? You gonna make this a bigger thing? You're gonna try to go off and make this full time? What's the goal?
So making it bigger, absolutely. There's more and more. There's more fathers out there that need good leadership. They need to learn what good leadership looks like. They need to learn what
Yeah.
good, compassionate, strong, masculine leadership actually looks like in a family. So my, I'm still working one on one with men, giving them one on one coaching,
Mm-hmm.
helping them build their skills that way, which is a lot of value in that. But it's limited to one person at a time. So for me, it's going to be I want to build a community where men can go and they can talk with each other in good, positive ways. I'm a member of a few other dad groups online, like on Facebook and stuff. And
Sure.
holy shit, there's a lot of bullshit that goes on in there. A lot of guys that are just making assumptions. Someone will say, "Oh, hey, this thing, my wife made this weird glance at me the other day," and there's all these guys, whether they're joking or not, is irrelevant. They're in the
Mm-hmm.
comments being like, "Oh man, she's cheating on you. You need to get out now." It's like, bro, that is terrible advice. What are you doing?
Yeah, it
I
doesn't
don't
help.
want I don't want a
Yeah.
space like that. It's like,
Yeah.
hey man, yeah, cool. Maybe you should sit down and have a conversation with her about it and ask her where she's at.
Mm-hmm.
Take
Yeah.
leadership rather than, being a victim to everything.
Oh,
So I
man,
want to build a community.
it's entirely possible and very
Mm,
probable, I would tell you, that you just are far more advanced in that field. So you're going to go in there and you're a senior in high school, and really those guys in that group, they're all second graders. And when it comes to understanding what it is to be a man, how to be, you know what I mean? So maybe those
mm.
guys who are making those jokes and dicking around, hey, at least they're there. At least they're trying to connect with other men. And
Yeah,
I'll make jokes
absolutely.
about it
I
too,
agree.
but they're starting. They're like, all right, they're
Yeah.
probably recognizing the need, and that's where your role is to be able to be the dad for those dads and say,
Yeah.
hey
Yeah,
dude,
absolutely.
yeah, not the right place for that joke. I think it's funny, but blah blah. You know what I mean? Like that's probably what's going
Mm.
on. And so yeah, the space that you would make, how do you see that shaking out? That's an online thing.
I see it as two parts. I see it as definitely an online community where men from anywhere can go. If they
Hmm.
want to learn how to be a better man, a better dad, a better husband, that's a place where they can go and they can draw from a community of like-minded men that are wanting to build each other up. That are, we want to build good relationships with other men. So then there's a
Hmm.
local aspect to me as well, where
Hmm.
I'd love to have guys here that are doing the same thing that want to
Right.
drive. They're going to push forward to be a better man, a better husband, a better leader for their families. Um, and just having that support of each other and being like, hey man, you're having a shit time, you call me and I'm going to
Mm.
come and help you out. Not
Yeah,
just
that's
that,
huge.
the guys are like, yeah, man, I'll do that for you. No, we
Yeah.
actually do it. And we actually show
Yeah.
up and help each other. It's like, someone gets injured or sick. It's like, hey guys, how about just to help them out? Let's get a work and be together on a weekend. Let's go down and give them a
Yeah.
chop out. Let's go and
Yep.
tidy up their lawns, do all the stuff, wash their
Yep.
cars, do some stuff so they don't have to worry about it. Like a community centered of dads that are helping support each other and helping each other to grow into better leaders. So I
Yeah.
can see that being a big thing. And then
Dude,
as
I
a part
like
of
that
that,
idea.
yeah,
Just to, hey, uh, good dad your ass off or something like that, where you got a tagline
yeah,
where it's like, all right, that's what we're doing. We're showing what dads are and what they do, and we'll even help out dads with being dads. Yeah, I like where your head's at with that. That's a pretty cool idea.
yeah, I think that'll be I think there'd be a lot of power in it. Just having, we all know that proximity is power, right?
No doubt.
You are what do they say? You are the sum of the five people you spend the most time with. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're spending
Mm-hmm.
the most time with single guys and you're
Mm-hmm.
in a relationship and you've got kids, like that's going to rub off on you, and there's a hidden threat there that people don't want to talk about, but it
Right.
happens. You hear you
Yeah.
got your mates talking about going off and having sex with all these women and doing all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff and going out and all that. There's a draw there,
Yeah.
right? There's a pull towards that. But
Grass is
what
greener type
men need
thing.
to know is like, well, there is that. But
Mm-hmm.
then each one of those guys that has that pull to that direction can either choose to step in that direction or he can sit there and go, but I also have this deep desire to just have lazy weekends at home with my family. just
Yeah, sounds pretty
engaging and
good.
being connected. So it's like you've got these two polar opposites there. And what you take from that is you take the charge, because there's a charge that gets generated because of that. You're like, there's this big fucking pull. Cool. I need a mission. I need to go some way, this way, and get some of this and all of this as much as I can. You know, so balancing that self versus the family. So you still need to be able to have some adventure. You still maybe need some time for yourself. You still need to be able to do things. Cool. Build it into your life. And then having a group of guys around you that are going to support you to do that in good ways, good productive ways that aren't going to be destructive to your family if that's important to you. You know, because that's the thing. Like, you may be a dad, but if your family is not your priority and you're not interested in growing in that environment, then sorry, there's no place for you in my community. It's like, if you're not family oriented to a degree, then no, go find a group that's going to be more up your alley. You know, if you want to be a dad but an entrepreneur CEO that's working 100 hours a month or 100 hours a week, go right ahead. This ain't the place for you, because I'm going to call bullshit on the fact that you're a family man if you're working such long hours for whatever reason, you know. So to me, it's family man who also wants to be a good man for himself.
Yeah, that's the key. I mean, that's what we're all trying to do, as we said earlier. We're all on the same team here. Let's see if we can get our mission